Beyerdynamic is known around the world for professional studio headphones. What happens when a company that's legendary in studio audio makes a gaming headset? Beyerdynamic claims it's three-dimensional sound with professional voice transmission. Does it live up to the hype? Let's take a deep dive with the MMX 300 second generation. Alright guys, today we are taking a look at the Beyerdynamic MMX 300 second generation. Beyerdynamic does a great job with professional audio, and today we are taking a look at what happens when they put together a professional gaming headset. So inside the box, the headphones come in a Beyerdynamic carrying case. We've seen this carrying case before. It's a fairly firm interior with a nice soft touch exterior to it. It's just a basic clamshell. It is nice to see that it's not too big. It is actually appropriately sized and would be fairly useful if you're taking this around to a LAN or in any other use case where you want to take it with you on the go or travel with it. It's going to be fairly effective that way. Inside the clamshell case are the headphones. They look pretty great. It's basically an all blackout type style to it. It comes with the Velcro headband that we've seen before. This is a great headband. I'm a big fan of this one. It's very soft to the touch. It's a PU leather, but it is really, really well done. Very soft and very well padded on the underside. It is Velcro so that you can replace this over time as it wears down, which is nice. And it does, having that Velcro style headband does create a little bit more clamping pressure, but not as much clamping pressure as the professional models that have the snapping headband. That one clamps even a little tighter yet, but pretty decent clamp to it. Very lightweight headphone. I will get a snapshot of it on the scale for you guys, because without the cable, it really is a very lightweight headphone. I don't foresee the clamping force bothering a lot of people. The yokes are the same yoke system we've seen several times. It's replaceable. It's got the click style. These I always worry about wearing out over time, but again, the whole thing's replaceable. And if you like it, you're probably going to set it and forget it. Probably won't ever be an issue for you. I do not care for these wires being exposed, just like on all Beyerdynamics that have that style. But on the same token, I am yet to have a real world issue with it. So it's fine in practical use. The ear cups are a nice matte black, and they are fully closed, and these do have a great seal, so you get great sound isolation with these. You are not going to hear the environment around you. If someone comes into the same room as you and wants to speak to you, they're going to have to get right next to you. You won't hear them enter the room type, so very, very isolating closed headphones. Great if you're in a LAN environment or something like that where you want that. The pads are the same pads that we find on the blackout models, the 880 black and such, as well as the Tiger 300R. They're a fairly firm foam on the inside with a velour finish on the outside. This velour is scratchier than the silver velour that you find on the Pro models and the premium editions that come with that awesome Beyerdynamic silver velour. So these are my least comfortable Beyerdynamic ear pad, but they do the job, and they're not bad in any way. They just don't live up to the standard of the silver velour. On the inside of the cup, you can see that they are dampened, but they're dampened in the same way that the 770 is, and not the same dampening as you find on the Tiger 300R. So we'll see how that affects sound when we get to it. And then the thing that sets this apart, obviously, is the microphone. It has a nice swivel boom here. The gooseneck is very adjustable, and it does come with a adequate pop filter, and I will make sure you guys get a good sound test of the microphone here. And then the swivel's out of the way, but it does not have like a swivel up and mute feature. We'll get to the cables here in a minute. And then here is the cable entry. It's a single entry, and it comes in the box with a couple different style of cables. Really a pretty nice headphone, a nice slick aesthetic. I do like how it feels. It wears very nicely, and it looks sharp in my opinion. So that's the headphone themselves. First cable we'll look at, this is the cable that connects to a console. So if you want to use these with console use, One end here will go into the ear cup and one end will go into the controller. And if you're only going to a controller, you do want it fairly short, so that part's good. I think the one thing that is kind of disappointing on these for me, while they have a nice volume wheel and a rocker here, the mute switch, up and down mute switch, is very, you can tell it's on when you can see the red, and it's just hard to see. If you're in any kind of dim lighting, it's tough to make out whether or not you have it muted, but it feels cheap. This piece feels inexpensive. And then here is the cable for PC use. One of the issues I had here is you get a green pin and a red pin, and these two plug into the front or line out of your motherboard, and then one goes into your mic input, obviously. Even after working back and forth with Beyerdynamic directly, I was not able to get this cable to work with my motherboard audio. I'm using a MSI Meg Ace X570. So they basically said, hey, we're not real familiar with it. Contact the motherboard manufacturer directly. So now if I plugged in the green pin out, I was able to get that to work directly with my THX amplifier. So all of my sound gaming tests were done in that manner, where I was getting a good clean audio signal, and I trusted that signal. So that's how I evaluated this set of headphones. Now, fortunately, I had a Sound Blaster G3 on hand that I have coming up in a review here. And this, I was able to get it fully functioning with this pin out into this, and then USB into my computer. I think that's everything for build. Let's go ahead and get to a mini DSP ears measurement as well as a mic test for you guys. All right, here's a sound quality sample of the microphone on the Beyerdynamic MMX 300 second generation. The mini fridge in my office has kicked on, so we'll see how it does at rejecting ambient noise, and you can determine for yourself if you feel this is a good microphone for a headset that has an MSRP of just under $300. Alright guys, here's an audio quality sample of the HyperX Alpha S microphone. I have the boom leaned in towards my mouth. I do not have the microphone directly in front of my mouth. I've gone into the Windows 10 settings and slid the input volume all the way over to 100 so we get a good idea of what kind of background noise may be introduced. I notice myself that I do not hear the PC or my small refrigerator playing back through the audio, so it's doing a good job of blocking out other ambient sounds. All right, guys, so here we are with the measurements of the MMX 300 second generation. So this is not all that big of a surprise. You have the same bass response that you basically see in the 770 and 1770, and then a fairly level mid-range, and then a huge treble spike around 9K. And that's probably the biggest caution flag that comes right out of just looking at this, is that massive treble spike is definitely going to need equalization for some people, me included. This headphone with no EQ is absolutely fatiguing to me. Short period of time, it's got to come off. It really is some fierce treble response there. So unfortunately, I know a lot of people and their enthusiasm in this headset and this review were probably hoping for a little bit different here, but it's just not the case. So if you compare it to this frequency response here is the 770 Pro 32 ohm with the pleather pads that I recently reviewed. And you can see the pleather pads are giving a boost to the bass response and sub bass response. If that was the 770 with the silver velour, you'd see them come right in line there. And then pretty much the same in the mids, and the trebles slightly different there. That's probably more variation in how they were seated on the mini DSP ears measurement. You can see they're essentially an identical response. I know myself and probably others were hoping that this was a revolutionary headphone, a Tiger 300R closed or something to that effect, but unfortunately it's not. For better or worse, this is a variation of the 770. So if you already like the 770, great. If you don't, you're probably super disappointed right now. Just for comparison's sake, here it is with the Tiger 300R, and the Tiger 300R is open back, so a lot of differences there, but you see how the Tiger 300R is dampening brings that treble response down quite a bit in the standard Beyerdynamic drivers. Similar bass response, you can see how this one would be a fun headphone. It's got the mid scooped out there, but just a comparison between two popular headphones. And then the last comparison that I did want to throw up here was the HyperX Alpha S Blackout that I reviewed probably 6 months ago. This is with the bass slider on the middle adjustment, and you can see how much more relaxed the treble is, and the treble in that headphone is still fairly even but raised above the mid-range, so it doesn't give any perceived loss of detail. And considering you can get that headset for $100 on promotion, up to about $130 when it's not on sale, it's going to be something that people look at as a competitive headset. So I thought that this was good to look at. So make no mistake, we have a 770 variant with an extreme treble spike that needs EQ. So hopefully that's helpful. Let's go ahead and move on now. All right, guys, so what do I think of the MMX 300? I think they look fantastic. I love the black colorway and aesthetic. I think they're lightweight, super comfortable. I think they come with a nice package since they're including a carrying case, 2 sets of cables, a decent mic with a flexible gooseneck, and an adequate pop filter. Those are all good things. I do have some concerns with the cables. They're a little lower quality than some of the competition, and I don't love that I had issues plugging it directly into my motherboard. Be forewarned, definitely reach out to your motherboard manufacturer in advance before you purchase it so you know that it'll work if that's your intended use case. As far as sound, they sound fantastic. They have a good bass response, great treble clarity, outstanding spatial soundstage, good positional acuity. I'm really a big fan that way. The only struggle there is they need equalization for most people. And that's the real hang up with this headset. I expect a headset to be real plug and play, super convenient. That's why you would reach for it instead of a more complicated setup. I fear that plugging it into a console, most people are going to have zero chance to EQ it. Plugging it into your PC, you may have something like Equalizer APO or something to that effect, which will work great, but it's one more step. And if you don't have the convenience of a plug and play headset, is it worth it? I'm not so sure. So that's for you guys to decide. Honestly, I had kind of hoped that this was a Tiger 300R and a closed back and something completely revolutionary. It turns out it's more evolutionary. It's a 770 variant, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that. The 770 does a lot of things well, and if you already know you like that sound signature or that treble doesn't bother you, these are going to be a big win. Hopefully that helps you guys make a purchasing decision. Thank you very much for watching the video. I certainly enjoyed making it. Don't forget to like and subscribe so I can keep doing reviews for you. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter so that you can see what project I'm working on next. And as always, stay safe out there. Take care.